Okay, we call the regular business meeting of the Town of Rochester Town Board for September to order. We have already done the pledge to the flag. We'll do the roll call again.
Councilman Allen. Here. Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Allen. Here. Thank you. Councilman Paddock.
Here.
Councilwoman Stevenson. Here. Supervisor Bailey.
Here. Also present, attorney for the town, Christiana. First, I'd ask for the acceptance of the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor with two additions and one change. One, at the request of Councilman Coleman, we will be moving town board member time to after public comment, so the public can speak, and then if any town board member chooses to respond, they can after that. The second is to add the seeker determination for local law 7 of 2022 and possible discussion of it. And the third would be a resolution for the appointment of an employee for the transfer station.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Does the board want to do the seeker now or go through the updates and things and then do the seeker before the resolutions?
I'll do the seeker before the resolution.
Okay. Yep. So first order of business then is the attorney for the town report.
Okay, I'm gonna send you guys some comments by email, nothing major, but nothing to be discussed in public either. And I just want to comment that Ms. Hogan had asked a question last month at the public input session regarding contracts and ARPA money. And ARPA does not specifically say you must have a contract. They do say that the subrecipient must agree to certain conditions. The way you do that is through a contract. But additionally, under Article 8 of the Constitution, if we didn't have a contract, it would be given. So that's why we have contracts on all of these different organizations that we give money to, whether they're from budget or from ARPA funding.
Christina, did Kate leave you a report?
I want to say there was a resignation.
Okay.
That's it.
Highway Superintendent report. They have, I believe, finished up all the road projects that they were doing this summer. We may have one more yet scheduled, but I'm not 100% certain. We had our first meeting with the consultant selected for the design and management of the Boyce Mill Bridge project yesterday. They will be getting a contract to us for our approval. And once they begin that, they do anticipate that they will probably need approximately 6 to 8 months. They will come up with a preliminary design. The board and highway superintendent will review the preliminary design. At some point, a public meeting must be held to present the concept of the bridge to the public. Then we do anticipate that we may need to do a small bit of right-of-way acquisition because we are going to put a somewhat wider bridge so we can have bicycle and pedestrian able to cross. So they will be working on that. We anticipate we would probably go out to bids for construction in the fall of 2023, with construction take place as soon in the spring of 2024 as is possible. So that is progress report on that. We have to complete it by 2026. So I feel that comfortable that we are in that ballpark. Financial report has been filed with the town clerk, and there's a copy for each of you in your folders. The revenue received in August 2022 from the general fund was $201,187.80. And portion of that was the sales tax received from the quarterly sales tax, as well as the additional 1% that was received or that was negotiated by the Supervisors Association with the county executive and the city of Kingston. You might remember I said a trigger amount was put where they would consider an additional funding to the towns if they exceeded a certain number. We did exceed that in 2021. And because of that, we received essentially a fourth payment. We normally get every 4 months, we get a payment. So we got 4 payments for 2021 instead of 3. And it's very likely that the same may happen in 2022. Highway fund, their revenue, which is only from a few very small sources, is $7,295.38. They are in progress of putting together their ARPA reimbursement paperwork, which will be at least $620,000. It may be as much as $680,000. So sometime in November or December, we will be getting a very nice Thanksgiving or Christmas present from the state of New York. Expenditures with abstract aid of 2022, general fund is $57,323.77. The highway fund, $273,914.86. The street lighting fund, $272.05. And I believe we are now finally caught up to date with Central Hudson and Nexamp billing us appropriately for the street lighting. And the escrow fund was $4,121.91. The total expenditures for August 2022, the general fund, $115,018.94. The highway fund, $310,573.94. $272.05 for street lighting, and escrow fund, $4,121.91. Correspondence report. There's a packet in your files with a paperclip on it that is the bulk of the correspondence for the month. And I do want to call attention to a couple things for the board. We did receive a thank you note, which difficult to copy, from the Accord Senior Citizens, thanking us for our support for their program. You'll remember every year we fund their program, as well as the Cohasson Accord Seniors and there's one other senior group that I can't remember the name of, the Cohasson Jewish seniors that we fund. Couple of the things in the beginning are from your packet, from the resolutions. We did receive from the County Environmental Management Council a request to appoint a member. Councilwoman Nanowan is working with the ECC to identify somebody. We received correspondence from the town clerk regarding primary day. We received from the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission correspondence. We received from the Ulster County Legislature, from the chairwoman of the legislature, request. They are forming, or they have formed, the Ulster County Law Enforcement Community Engagement Committee. They are asking for nominations for people to serve on that. And they would ask that we offer any recommendations by November 1st of 2022. So we do have a little bit of time on that. The resolution and the charge for that commission are included there in your packet. So see if you can think of anybody. We can discuss later if we want to put out a general notice of if people interested to be on this. However, the board would like to handle it. Next is the sales tax report that I told you about. And you'll see we received $76,511.28. That's the extra payment for last year. And then for this 4-month period, $59,144.38. We received notice from the Department of Taxation and Finance that our assessor, Jeremy Baraka, has completed the requirements to be designated a state certified assessor. He was 1 class shy when we hired him provisionally. He has completed that class. They have provided that notice to us. And congratulations to Jeremy. We received notice from the Department of Environmental Conservation, the deadlines for Part 360 and 361 compliance. This is involving facilities that deal with waste. I don't believe that this involves transfer stations. I believe this only involves waste and landfills themselves. There are various communications received from residents that are in your packet, and finally, one piece from from the attorney who is dealing with our insurance. So that is correspondence for the month. If anybody wants to see that card, I'll pass it out. And then Christina, I'll give it to you to have Kate keep it in the correspondence file. Burn ban. We adopted, or I did as the chief executive of the town of Rochester. We are able to issue executive orders as of Tuesday, August 23rd at 12:01 a.m. I issued a burn ban for the town of Rochester. That is good for 1 month. However, we must renew it every 5 days. It has been renewed. It was renewed on again for the 28th. It was renewed again today, effective at 12:01 tomorrow morning. We will continue to renew it until such time as we decide there has been significant enough rain to end it, or that the DEC has decided we are in a high-risk area. Our counties, the southern counties of New York State. So we will stay in that ban. I will say the board did sponsor fireworks for Heritage Day. If we are indeed still in the ban, we will be canceling those fireworks. We will not be holding them, but we hope for some rain. We thank all the fire and DEC, parks, rangers, state police, everybody involved with all that they're doing down in the Napanoch fire. And the little bit of rain we got the other day did help them to some degree, but they are still in a struggle there. It's an area that is almost impossible to reach on foot. So we continue to thank them and for all their work, all their hard work. Grant updates. The Algerville Firehouse is nearing completion. We did a walkthrough last week and created a punch list that we are now sharing with the contractors. I would estimate it is probably 95% complete. And once the contractors complete that, we will work toward closing out the project. The anticipation is that the hope is still that sometime in October, it will be declared completed and will be turned over to the fire district for their use. And I'm hoping that the November election will take place in Alderville, back where it belongs and not in this building. The Harold Lipton Community Center, we are still waiting on final paperwork from the architect who did the project. Both New York State and myself are at wit's end, but until they sign off on everything, this project is not completed. The running joke is with the Alderville people is that they're going to beat this project, and there's literally nothing we can do without that paperwork from them. The Boyceville Bridge Road, I already gave that update. The building department code enforcement record conversion is continuing. We have until the end of December to complete that grant. They are scanning all our records and they are fighting the clock, but we anticipate that will be completed. The courthouse bathroom and the ADA compliance, the JCAP grant, you will see there's a resolution on the agenda tonight for another resolution to re-advertise that project. As was predicted, now that the fall is coming, I have had a couple contractors inquire. I verified with Mary Lou that because it exceeds the $35,000 amount, that we would have to go back out to sealed bids. So that's what I'm doing, starting that process over, in which case those contractors who've inquired now can provide a bid if they choose to. So I am going to make it, when we get to it, we'll discuss it, but in a very short timeline so we can keep the project moving forward. The O&W Trail, as was stated last month, I probably should just take this off the agenda for now. It will be next fall, excuse me, next spring. And the ARPA funding, we have a balance that we have to figure out. As I'm sure Mr. Councilman Coleman will report when we get to Cablevision, Spectrum has been very hard to deal with. Although I am told that they now are starting to quote some of the neighbors some prices that are a lot more reasonable. I'm not quite sure what that end game is, but that's where that stands. County updates. The only thing I had was really the sales tax, which I already talked about. Upcoming public hearings on the 21st, the Wednesday at our workshop meeting. We have a public hearing to add a new use to an economic enterprise overlay designated property. It is 2919 Lucas Avenue. That public hearing will be held at 6:30. It was awarded EEO designation. It's the business that is a woodworking business currently. They are asking to add a sawmill, a portable sawmill. However, under the code, they are only allowed to operate a portable sawmill 90 days per year. So they are requesting to add the use of portable sawmill to that EEO designation. The town board has heard their request and scheduled this public hearing. If it is awarded, it will then go to the town planning board for site plan review, and we'll need to secure that as well in order to be awarded. Also on the 29th, yes, 29th at 6 p.m. We have 5 more public hearings on the zoning chapter 140. don't have the 5 topics in front of me. Aaron, do you happen to have that list handy?
I
I apologize.
I have it in the app. It's, yeah, it's the middle of the alphabet.
Yeah,
But I have the website.
okay. It's local law O, P, Q, R, and S. O is kennels.
Yeah, and, yeah, kennels, zoning, transfer of density rights.
Okay, that's local law
That's
P.
Q is, zoning law development standards.
Okay,
R is landscaping standards, and S is the overlay district.
and one of the additions of the overlay districts is designating a historic overlay district for the 2 historic districts in the town of Rochester, which are the Allergerville Historic District and the Accord Historic District. Those are the 2 New York State designated historic districts that we currently have. So they are proposed to be designated as a historic overlay district for the purposes of zoning. And that's it. So department updates, liaison. Aaron, I'll start with you.
Sure. My computer will turn on. So I don't have my notes, so I'm gonna reading it a little bit. So the transfer station, we do have an agenda item to fill the 3rd position there. It was left vacant when we had someone move up to the supervisor's office. So we did that interview for the person that we're moving forward. And for the exchange, I have a few items that I wanted to bring to the board's attention there. There have been some really nice updates to the space there. We, our town electrician did some electric work there, and the volunteers there have painted. It looks very nice. They are a very enthusiastic group of volunteers, and they started putting up some nice paneling to help keep the rain off of furniture items and other things. However, we are going to need to have some of that get adjusted so that the workers there can actually see through to the bin. So I will be working with them to make those adjustments. Additionally, they do have a proposal to build a little kind of floor to keep the water from flowing. I have that. I wanted to share that with you. They have a small budget for that, and they did have that approved by the crew. They went to Jerry to see what they needed to do to make it safe. So, and I believe the price tag on the lumber was $800 for that. It turned into an ice sheet last year, so it was very dangerous. So they also would like to declare August. They'd like to have a volunteer appreciation time on October 8th from 12 to 2 p.m. Because it's really a lot of people that have been spent time there. So they just wanted to have everyone gather at the exchange on that day.
At the exchange.
At the exchange, yeah. And I was thinking it would be a good time, selfishly, to do some education on recycling. So if anyone else would like to come to that and offer their thanks to the volunteers that have been helping to sort things and keep things out of the landfill, that's what that day would be. The ETC has a 3rd Thursday scheduled for Thursday, September 15th at 6:30 p.m. The 3rd Thursdays are via Zoom. This one is very interesting. The topic is culverts, waterways, and wetlands, and it's given by Ben Gannon of the Ulster County Department of Environment and Tim Posh of the Ashokan Watershed Council. And That actually sounds like very fascinating to me, because I know we talk about that a lot. These like, I know at our farm, the place that has the highest amount of diversity are our kitchens. They also discussed at their meeting, they really would like to install a pollinator garden in town, and they had the idea to see if they could do it in front of the town hall in the spaces that are not planted. And that it's not a lot of space, but they think they could do it and the ECC would maintain it. They're talking about next spring. So I said we could work together on a budget so that we can incorporate it into the budget line that we have for that. They said it would just be for the plan, basically. So it would not cost the town everything.
I'll be sending them their budget request tomorrow.
Oh,
Form
great.
tomorrow,
Yeah, that's
so-
what I said.
Yep.
I do think that we have a candidate for that county council.
Okay, great.
The chair is interested. in
Okay,
that.
good, good.
And let's see, the planning board continues to have several minor subdivisions open, and we did ask them to put forward someone for the case law training, and the chair Saras will be attending that, which is exciting. I think I'm excited about that thing. And okay. For the code enforcement office, we discussed this week. I didn't follow up to see how it went, but sending out email alerts to short-term transient rental owners that could let them know about, like, it was the burn ban that sparked that thought, and because we require an email address on the application, that's a very easy thing to do, and we discussed perhaps that could be a more powerful communication tool for that office. So I'm excited to see that goes.
Anything else?
That's it. Sorry, that was long. I'm
Okay.
talking a lot.
A lot of stuff. Adam?
Sure. So, from Ashley at the Recreational Department, summer program, excuse me, summer program 2022 has come to an end. And Ashley would like to publicly thank all the staff for making a wonderful experience once again. She says we couldn't do it without you. Thank you to the town board for allowing this program to continue year after year. And the community is very grateful. On August 29th, the Recreation Department hosted an adult paint class with the Lipton Community Center. The class had 20 participants. As a reminder, Heritage Day 2022 will take place on Saturday, October 1st. The Recreation Department is still looking for contestants for the Jenny Bell Pie Contest. There'll be an adult and a youth category this year, cash prizes. Contact the Recreation Department for more information to sign up. And that's 845-626-2115. I'll tell you, get there early as the prize went quick last year. We talked about the report from the constabulary. Says constabulary answered 21 direct calls for service and other duties in August of 2022. These included 13 neighbor-to-neighbor and quality of life complaints, 3 resident traffic complaints, Sherrytown Road, Whitfield Road, Medicons Road, 3 environmental complaints, Whitfield Road, Rochester Center Road, and Sherrytown Road, 5 new building department violations, 0 court cases were open, 9 court cases remain open, 0 court proceedings were closed. Interesting occurrences at the beginning of the month, traffic complaints were again up, including increased number of complaints regarding traffic volume, speeds, and erratic operation of vehicle on town road. The last few days showed a decrease in traffic complaints on Sherrytown Road, Clay Hill Road, and Sampsonville Road, likely due to the closing of local summer camps. Short-term rental properties continue to generate increased number of complaints that include trespassing, loud noise, road driveway blockages, and garbage dumping. We continue to work with the building department on those issues. At the Deep Hole swimming hole, due to increased patrols in the area, we've had reduced daily complaints regarding vehicles parked unsafely along roadways and fire department draft area. We continue to rectify the situation each time it is reported and or observed. The monster truck show at the Ackford Speedway at the end of the month was managed far better than last year, with traffic being kept flowing on Whitfield Road. They worked closely with the SPCA to rescue a dog whose owner had passed away. Due to the state of emergency regarding the drought and ban on fires, we have responded to multiple calls regarding open burning. All fires were extinguished with no damage or loss. Neighbor-to-neighbor complaints have increased this month. All have been diffused without further action necessary. That's it.
I do want to clarify we deployed 2 constables each day during the monster truck event. 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. That was paid for by the promoters of the event. We quoted them a price for 8-hour shifts for the constables and the vehicle, and they paid those fees. So no money was expended by the town for that. And after last year, when we did have constables there as well last year, but the promoters worked with us very well. I had 0 complaints from the neighbors compared to last year where I had dozens. And everything seemed to go much smoother this year with that. So we thank Mr. Palmer from the Speedway for putting us in touch with the promoter for the event. I met with them on Friday morning before the event, and they met with the constables, and all went very smoothly. And we did also during that event, on Friday, I got some phone calls or some messages about people who were having open fires, and was able to utilize the fact that the constables were out and the event was ongoing, so they were not needed for the traffic assistance. So they went and addressed the fires, and people did put them out in both cases, and were not aware of the burn ban and complied readily. So we took double duty advantage of the fact that the constables were available. Michael.
All right, so on the ZBA, ZBA met this month. They had one minor technical matter that needed to be addressed from previous application. They were able to finish that up quickly, and they currently don't have anything on the agenda for this month, so the meeting for September was canceled. I know we're still looking to fill the alternate seat, so I'm going to reach out to some of the applicants from earlier this year, see if there's any interest, and then as a board, we can decide what the next steps look like for that. Spectrum, I've not had a chance to take any additional steps coordinating with them. I know county was trying to do something to see if they could do. I don't know if you've heard any updates on that. Happy to reach out to Spectrum again directly, and if the board wants to kind of meet and decide what we want to do with the pricing they're doing. But they haven't updated that. They haven't given us a single price for the locations. And if there are neighbors that have been quoted that are pricing, I'd love to find their names and talk to them and see.
Yeah, I'm sure when we get the public comment, we'll hear from Mr. Courtwright, but his neighbor did reach out to me the other day and said that Spectrum had quoted them lower prices, but only for 3 connections. If it went beyond 3 connections, then the price was going to jump back up. And I'm not quite sure I totally understand it, but I'm guessing it must be something with bandwidth. And so for every 3 connections, they were offering discounts if 3 people signed on, the way it was described to me by the neighbor. So that was interesting news because it was very different from what we were hearing. But so.
Oh yeah, we can talk.
Yeah.
In terms of the fire district, I spoke with Chief Demarest earlier today to check in. Obviously, I want to thank all the volunteers as they've been responding to the mutual aid call for the fires in Alaska. At this point, there's a coordinated effort with state and federal agencies, so they're continuing to provide support when needed, while still making sure they're covering the town. It's obviously tough terrain, it's hard work, so I want them to all know that we really appreciate everything we can do. I think we've talked about the burn ban enough here, so I'm not going to repeat any of that, but everybody's aware there's a burn ban in town. EMS squad, Marltown First Aid Unit, I spoke with Joe Liddy earlier this week. Sounds like everything is going well over at the squad there. I was late in requesting numbers from them for July, and I imagine we're still working on their August numbers, so I'll follow up with stuff over there. Get those from him. KFAS, the squad responded in July to 79 of 91 calls. It's an 86% response rate. Also, I was told by Mr. Nurko that they have 7 paid staff from E5 who are to begin supporting as of September 3rd. And we're still coordinating them on the contract this year. And I think that is everything for me.
Good. Charlotte.
So, housing, we still are waiting to do interviews and process a few, emails that we got, the applications there from the ad, for the housing committee to get that off the speed. And then as far as elder care goes, I did have a chat with, Rich about it. They haven't had many calls this month. Typically, the summer isn't their busy season for the elder care program with emergencies. Normally, it's the winter months when power's out and there's people, the elderly not get out of their home safely. We did have a conversation about potentially expanding the program from to not only emergency calls to houses when there's an emergency, but more of a neighborly connection with our elderly people in our community. So like if they need help getting to their car for a doctor's appointment, and someone's available, we can send them to help them out in that sense, or they can't get their garbage cans out to the curb because there's still unavailable, kind of more of a neighborly situation with that. So we're gonna open a discussion and me and Richard are gonna talk about that a little bit more as time goes on. I only got to a brief update with him because I just got to work last week.
Assessors office report, and the board members have a copy of this. The assessor and his assistant, his aide, are continuing to organize the office to more effective and efficiently according to the Institute of Assessing Officers guidelines. He is in desperate need of a new desk. He has found the desk that was left from the previous assessor to not be very functional. I will say it is a very old fiberboard desk. I would agree. However, there's nothing in the budget this year for a new desk, so I have in the agenda item for discussion requesting authorization of a certain amount from the board to purchase a new desk.
Everyone, the humidity goes away.
He will be doing property inspections as time permits in in September. He continues to work on processing sales. The sales have lessened a little bit, not a huge amount, but a little bit. Entering building permits, certificates of completion. They're pulling plans at the building department. They're answering calls, assisting property owners with questions and issues. Daily assisting the general public that they walk in looking for deeds, tax maps, and owner information. I will tell you, the assessor, based on a previous experience in Orange County, has instituted a policy that he will provide deeds only for the owner of a property, not for other inquiries. This was a result in Orange County of people coming in, securing deeds, and then putting a claim in as owners on the property and filing it as if they owned it. The Orange County assessor, the head of Orange County Real Property, due to that, instructed all assessors or requested all assessors not provide deeds. Our assessor's opinion is that anybody who wants a deed can go to Kingston with the county clerk where they are file the appropriate information. So he will only provide. We have access to some deeds, not all, but the ones he has access to, his policy now is going to be only to provide them to the owners of the property, not to anybody else.
And you can look them and look at them on the Ulster County Clerk's website.
Right, you can request them on the website. You don't even have to go.
Today. You know.
You don't even have to go to Kingston, you can do it on the website. So it's a nice service that we have always done, but based on his experience in past, and I can only anticipate that it may happen other places. So that has become his new policy. Vacation time, he has a couple days left of vacation that he said he will be taking in the month of September. Mary Lou, you're gonna have to help me out on this because I don't know what a SCAR application is.
I don't know what it is.
Okay. He received 5 SCAR applications from Abington Properties. I'm guessing that's And then he concludes by saying that he and his assistant are processing a heavy load of recent sales, building permits, doing inspections, issuing 911 address requests. Believe it or not, there are still properties in our town that don't have 911 addresses. Processing certificates of completion and along the other duties. So I'll let you keep searching what
It's
SCAR.
small claims.
Small claims. Okay,
Oh, okay. We used to call them Article 7, so
okay.
he just calls them something.
Small
else.
claims. So that is basically where somebody has filed a
Administrative.
administratively challenge. Yeah. And that was the
The one.
Those were the Abington properties were the ones that represented a number of people and put in values of $1,000 each for some of these properties. Yeah, on grievance day. But never followed up with the appropriate paperwork, so now they're challenging the small claims court.
Yeah, I'm on the court of administrative.
Oh, okay. That is it for department and liaison updates. As we discussed earlier, we're going to move to public comment. And then after public comment, I will have board member time if any town board member wants to respond to comment. For clarification, public comment is not question and answer session. It is public comment where we're here to hear. If anybody chooses to reply back, we will do it during the town board member time. And that will be our policy. So I'll open it up for anyone who wishes to speak. Ms. Smith.
Yes, back to parking in the town of Milton, which is where we took the fine for our new law, which I thought they had conflict. No, they don't. They have a village police department. So then I get back to constable and I'm confused. I know what a court security is. I know what a court officer is, and we have not yet defined what a constable is. So when I go to ECO 360 and put in constable, I see that we've waived the law and they don't have to live in our town. That's it. So I found a town. The town of Alden, that describes what a constable is. And it doesn't include everything that our constable does. So, but I think this is very thorough. And then we'll get back to the assessment that we paid for, and I want to just read you a little background from this. I'm reading right off the report. This was initial assessment of the town of Rochester Constable Police Department, called it. Administratively with recommendations of identified problems. This initial assessment is the result of interviews with the town supervisor and the chief constable. This assessment does not include assessment of buildings, vehicles, or agency equipment. This assessment is not a complete assessment, not a complete assessment. So now I go to the part. I'm just going to point out that it says that the training annually, for the ammo, taser cartridges, and hours of training would be a minimum. And this is in March of 2020, $365. He recommends policies and procedures. The administration of the department has limited part-time experience. Small departments must incorporate all of its officers as administrators to function properly. The department presently has one officer as the chief. The chief completes the added administrative duties on his own time. It is recommended this practice be addressed. It is recommended the department policy and procedures be reviewed immediately by the chief, town board, and town attorney in order to follow Town Board Resolution 30-2019. The resolution and the department policy and procedures manuals are not in sync with each other. C, initial policy clarification assessment for identified issues in the policy manual. It is recommended the policy manual be rewritten and reviewed by the town attorney and all town board members for approval immediately. It is recommended that there be a new town board resolution to be more specific in the types of calls the constables are authorized to respond. There needs to be clarification on the number 14, what extent constables investigate criminal and civil complaints. I'm gonna stop now, because this is a town record. It should be under town records when we go on the website. But my point is, we keep identifying the constabulary as a law enforcement agency, when no one has deemed, in my eyes, the county, 911, anybody, that they were a law enforcement agency. So if they were a law enforcement agency, they would have come under the governor's executive order for police reform, which I think our attorney knows all about, because she worked for the town of Rosenberg. And I think they had a wonderful, where they got great people involved in the community. So I'm asking my town board again. I think my community is confused. And instead of just saying, okay, that we have this wonderful program, we need to evaluate what it is. How do we pay for it? And what happened in the past needs to be addressed. Because they weren't parking tickets that they wrote hundreds of and assessed a lot of fines to people that didn't have the money. And I think there's 5 Democrats sitting at that table, and bail reform and police reform are kind of the niche. So I'm confused why we don't address this issue. Because it is the most talked about thing in the public comments for, I think it's been about 10 years since this resurfaced in 2012. But no answers, and everything you can foil that. Well, the phone number isn't listed. He doesn't have reports. That's why it's not a law enforcement agency. So, and what I'd like to say is, you can have a constabulary in the state of New York. You can. But you've got to have somebody that has police officer experience. And we have none. So you can't run a constabulary without anybody that's ever been a police officer. And the distinction is huge. And we keep missing that point. A correction officer is a peace officer. A fire chief can be a peace officer. But there's a huge difference between a constable and a police officer. And we need to determine what that is. And it is not defined in our code. And Kate has my number. I have done massive work on this particular topic because I found some huge discrepancies and they seriously concern me. So, thank you for your time.
Anyone else wish to speak?
I
Yes,
wanted
Pete.
to thank Mary Lou for looking that up. But even as, I know it's not an exchange, but as she looks it up,
Can I give this to the clerk?
Sure, absolutely.
I have a question for the board. Could this money, this ARPA money, the event one that uses the council, could this money be given to them with a very simple contract stating that they will give back any vouchers or expenditures that they spend to show proof of their money? That's the way the state allows you to do that. It's just, as you stated, maybe there's no contract specific, but could there be a resolution that says if we're giving $5 to the ambulance corps, they have to give us back a bill that shows they spent $5. That's very perfect. Okay, that's my first question. Second question on this building. In the contract that was written originally, there was no date of completion with fines set forth if this building were not completed in a set amount of time. And if not, I guess why not? Because then they couldn't be holding it up. It's been long enough. And maybe that's something to look at for the future. And back to my third thing, in discussion with the Boys Mill Bridge, I'm going to still keep saying this, so it's so somebody. I want this bridge to memorialize Herman's sunset. Because at some point, if this property has to be purchased, that man must have owned it on one side of the bridge. And I want the bridge dedicated to him. If they put me 6 feet under by the time it's completed, I want that bridge named for him.
I think it should be the Herman Stubby and Jean done.
But he's right, I always, that's true, Mr. Buss. But my point is, get that Dunn family name and make sure it says Stubby. Oh, I care, but that's what I want. Because I'm getting up there, I'm gonna keep plugging away at that. If that bridge isn't done and I'm planted, I still would hope somebody will pick that up and run. Thank you very much. That's my. No,
Thank you.
I don't plan to die tomorrow, but anyway, my point is, that's just.
Okay.
I'll be brief.
Grasso, Mr. Courtwright, either of you?
Yeah, I'll be brief. On the short-term rental, item on your agenda this evening, can you just make sure that when you're, whether it's town board member time or, conversation for this adoption of this law, that we just run through the formula again and how we came to the number of 50. I think everybody here knows it, but we have a lot of new people in the area. It's been a topic of conversation in the town. Not saying that I'm against it or for it. I think it's important that we discuss that, how we got to that number, so that we can, the people who have moved here recently understand how and why. That's all.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have no comment.
Okay. Frank, I will tell you, I had a lengthy conversation with your neighbor though, so.
Oh, yeah. So is I.
Anyone else? Yes.
I do have one more comment for the towpath. And for, I think it's Sunset Drive. Those signs are facing the road. And especially on towpath, I've heard a lot of complaints that people don't see the signs. People from the city are very good at navigating signs. And again, you can go down Sunset, you can go all the way down towpath and not see the signs because they face like this. So,
Sunset by the ice cream store?
yeah, check it out. They're
The
not,
sign's going along?
yeah.
Is it a state road sign?
There's no, first of all, the sunset sign is missing. The road sign isn't there. But the signs are facing like this, so, and Aaron, you know, you can check it out when you go up there, right? So, you know what, people are really not paying attention these days. Okay? They're real, and especially people from the city, they're used to a sign being a certain way, and with these signs facing the road and being back, it looks like you shouldn't park behind the sign. So just an observation, especially at Towpath, where the fire truck fills up, you can't see that. And Aaron, just real quick, the thing which the EC, the sending the short-term rentals, the email, would be fabulous if we could tell those people that, you know what, it's not okay for them to tell their patrons to go to a private swimming hole, because they do. Right? So, you know, I don't know, but in a quick paragraph, you know, please advertise Minnewaska, advertise all of Arrowwood, you know, all of our businesses, but don't give up Deep Bowl. You know, don't give up our places that are our treasures that we're already having an issue keeping private. And again, great over there this summer, no real parking issues. The community is really stepping up, telling people, and it's amazing how it works. Now, there's still cars over there, it's been like 90 days, I've seen somewhere.
Any other public comment?
They dammed up people before the weather got terribly hot, stopped the water flow. Now there's no water flow. It's dirty. The dogs are in there. It's horrendous. It's low. It's bug infested. It's polio water. Don't you people remember polio? It's bad. I wouldn't put anything in that water.
Okay, any more public comment?
No.
Okay. Board member time, or if any board members care to respond to anything?
So I have two things I'd like to respond to. They're both to D. A while back, I don't think I got to respond, but B offered a compromise to say that in workshop meetings, if we were potentially going to be voting on anything that has budget impact, that we should possibly have public comment just about those items. I think that's a reasonable request. I think, you know, as board members, it's our responsibility to be respectful of tax dollars. And so I think as a board, we should consider that. I don't know if we do that in general resolution. We could announce ahead of time specifically the agenda items that might be impacting the budget, or if we want to do that ad hoc by each meeting. But I do think it's a good suggestion and a nice comment.
We could do it as public comment only on items on the agenda.
Right.
Would be the way.
Yeah. So I think that's a good idea. It's going to impact budgetary issues, collection issues. And then I also think well, I've been having discussions about this, and I know everybody on this board wants to figure out the contract and find money. And we've heard a lot about equipment issues with KPAS. So if it is possible to do a very pared down contract that is specific to equipment that we could have receipts for, I think that's a worthwhile consideration. And then we can look at the service component of the contract separately, especially if we're talking about help money for that. So I think that's also a good suggestion.
I will say the rules are a lot, not quite as cut and dried as just show a receipt though. The ARPA money requires certain categories of funding. Yes, the town board can claim it as funds not received, but we can't then take money as funds not received and give it to somebody else. We can take it for town functions, but we can't then give it to somebody else. So there is the reporting back is quite complicated and a lot of justification of how this money is being spent. So we'll have to tread carefully on it. I'm certainly willing to look into it some more. I did call the Association of Towns, who said the same thing that Mary Lou did. There is not a requirement of a contract, but and that was the big caveat, is that town board is required to report the use of the funding, and we are fiscally responsible for the use of the funding if it is not used properly. So they did not recommend that we do it without a contract, but there is nowhere in the ARPA language that specifically states you must have it. So,
But you're saying a bifurcated contract, one for equipment and then a separate one for services.
okay, Erin, Adam?
I have one thing to say, I just, in 2020, I thought it was a very good idea to, do a board review of the constabulary program. I still think it would be a very positive thing for the board and the community, and it's not off my list, but it got moved aside, and I think that with the board we have now, that perhaps that's something that we could do together, and I would like to see us do that. And Rosendale does have a police department, and they did do a very fantastic job, and there's some other people involved with that, and I think it is a model for how to do those types of reviews, and I think it was a very positive experience for the community, and strengthened the program there, which is what we said.
So to respond to a couple of the questions, the constabulary constables are covered under just as every other employee is under the New York State Civil Service law. There is a job description with New York State Civil Service that Ulster County maintains, is our representative of it. We forward every employee to the Ulster County Personnel Department, who vets against the description of that to verify that they qualify. We also, with our constables, they go to New York State for approval as well. Regarding the New York State mandated review, we did ask our attorney at the time when that came down, and she reviewed and discovered that constables as peace officers, which by New York State law, constables are considered peace officers. They are not, we're not covered under that review requirement. Our constables are indeed peace officers, and the reason they are not outlined in our code is similar to very few job descriptions are actually in our code. It's because it's done by civil service. And the job descriptions, as a matter of fact, we're advised by our human resources consultant not to rewrite job descriptions, not to have our own job descriptions, to follow New York State's job descriptions. So that's what we do. As the supervisor, I oversee that department, and I authorize when and how they are used, other than our normal court operations, which the judges oversee when and how they are used. So, they are not patrolling unless requested by me to patrol for a certain specific event or occurrence. Also, there is a section in that local law number 7 that addresses the ability for justices to make changes to that fine amount, either pro or raise or lower. We set the fine amount. It seemed reasonable. The amount seemed reasonable to us, but under section 2D, upon showing of good cause made by the defendant under oath after a plea of not guilty or guilty with an explanation, any fine may be reduced by the court. Good cause shall be determined at the discretion of the court. So indeed, even though we have set fines, and I think our attorney will verify that we must set a base of the fine, but the judges have
They have,
very wide lateral discretion to either increase or decrease. And if there are other events that are part of that, they could issue additional fines for those other events.
yeah, I will say they're not going to look at moving violations. These are parking tickets.
Right.
And parking
Right,
tickets
these are parking
are
tickets.
through the municipality, whereas moving violations are through the
Correct.
state.
Part of the
So they-
reason, yeah,
They will not get a transcript for that like they would if you got a speeding.
That's where I was going.
part of the reason for this is because exactly that parking tickets are not a moving violation and are not part of the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Code. Like we couldn't suddenly set our own state vehicle and traffic regulations for our town.
So would a constable know that there was a second infraction within a certain period of time?
Not to get into question, no.
Is there some way, because the reason, the way the code reads is that within 18 months, I believe,
Well, the court would have the record.
The court would have the record of
they're not gonna issue a fine. On the
Courts-
side.
courts.
The court would,
Yeah,
right, the court would look at-
yeah, courts issue fines, not the constables. Constables issue summonses, courts issue fines.
That's,
So when the court issues a fine, if a person had a prior one within 18 months, they would then appropriately, or two, or if it was the third within 18 months, that would be, this is a town of Rochester parking ticket, not a parking ticket
very
anywhere.
clear.
And also, after the last meeting, I could tell you I wanted to look at what we said for parking. We're kind of middle of the road in this state. There's some that are much higher and some that are much lower. We're middle of the road.
Also to address, as I was requested, the short-term rental. We asked, as you know, we set the law in September of 2021. Took effect as of January of 2021. We gave a 4-month grace period for anybody operating to sign up. We set the cap for 2022 at 100 non-owner occupied short-term rentals. If you are owner occupied, you can apply for the permit and there is no cap on owner occupied. There is a cap on non-owner occupied. We pulled a report from the Code Enforcement Office as of August 1st. We had put in the code that after July 1st, when the assessed value is set for the town, that by at the September meeting, which is what this is, that we would set the cap for next year, so people would know in advance. There are currently, as of August 1st, 122 registered short-term rentals in the town of Rochester. 64 are owner occupied, 58 are non-owner occupied. We don't know though, and we did not determine how many of those were grandfathered and how many were not. Our current cap was 100. Clearly, we have not achieved that. We also, from the Ulster County Comptroller, received a report that they put together based on public data. They have, based on, there's a company called Granicus that is reviewing short-term rentals throughout the country. They have identified 134 in the town of Rochester. Ironically, we have 122 registered, pretty close. They have, the 2020 census has identified 4,062 housing units in the town of Rochester. So we are at approximately 3%. Ironically, that is the number that we were, when we adopted this law, that we were kicking around as a board. 3% seemed a reasonable number. So with that knowledge, we are proposing for discussion tonight, but for a resolution to set the 2023 number at 50. Now, bear in mind, that's new units. That's not existing. Once you're in, you will continue your permit as long as you don't lose it or give it up. So the number was always going to drop down. We started with 100 the first year, so 50 is what's proposed. But appreciate you asking the reasoning behind that.
Thank you. That's good clarification.
So moving on to resolutions. First, action on the minutes. The Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the minutes of the August 2nd public hearing, the August 2nd business meeting, the August 17th workshop meeting, the August 25th special meeting, the August 25th audit meeting, and the August 25th public hearings. As amended, there was one change in one meeting that I emailed to all of you and that one.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
I
Opposed? And the change was, it was listed as calling a special hearing, and in reality, we call it a special meeting, not a hearing. That was the correction, changing the word hearing to meeting. Acceptance of a donation. The Town of Rochester Town Board accepts donation of $46.56 from St. Pauli Textile.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, adoption of special district, Cohasset Court Ambulance District. Whereas on July 7th, Town of Rochester Town Board with Resolution 291/2022 and subject to permissive referendum, adopted proposed establishment of a special district to be known as the Cohasset Court Ambulance District, effective January 1, 2023. Whereas legal notice for adoption of resolution and notifying the residents that is subjected to permissive referendum was published in the July 15th edition of the Shangam Journal. Whereas on August 17th, 2022, Town Clerk Kathleen Gunberg provided certification to Ulster County Clerk Dina Postupak that no petitions have been filed in the office of the Town Clerk. Therefore, pursuant to Resolution 291/2022, the Town of Rochester Town Board establishes the Special District Cohasset Court Ambulance District for the benefit of all of the property and property owners in the proposed ambulance district, and the town supervisor, in collaboration with Ulster County Real Property, Town of Rochester Assessor, and Town of Rochester Tax Collector, shall be authorized to designate a parcel list, of all the property and property owners located within the district.
I'll make that one.
Have a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstained. Okay, adoption of special district Marbletown Ambulance District. Whereas on July 7, 2022, the Town of Rochester Town Board with Resolution 292/2022 and subject to permissive referendum adopted proposed establishment of a special district to be known as the Marbletown Ambulance District, effective January 1, 2023. Whereas legal notice for adoption of resolution and notifying the residents that is subjected to permissive referendum was published in the July 15th edition of the Shangam Journal. Whereas on August 17, 2022, the Town Clerk Kathleen Gunberg provided certification to Ulster County Clerk Nina Postupak that no petitions have been filed in the office of the Town Clerk. Therefore, pursuant to Resolution 292/2022, the Town of Rochester Town Board established a special district, Marbletown Ambulance District, for the benefit of all the property and property owners in the proposed ambulance district, and the town supervisor, in collaboration with Ulster County Real Property, Town of Rochester Assessor, Town of Rochester Tax Collector, shall be authorized to designate a parcel list of all the property and property owners located within the district.
I'll make that one.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Next, adoption of 2023 cap on new permits for non-owner occupied short-term transient rental units. The Town of Rochester Town Board establishes a cap of 50 new permits for non-owner occupied short-term transient rental units for the period of January 1, 2023 to December 31.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Okay.
Okay. Any discussion?
When we were trying to calculate the number that we did this past year on them, we wanted to try to keep them under 200. for the entire rate, because that was the percentage we were trying to keep under short-term rentals.
Mhm.
I would propose if we already have 124 agencies in town, that maybe we make it a little less if we're trying to decrease the number every year. Just because we're gonna be almost at that maximum that we wanted for the entire town at that point. If we leave it at 50 for the year of new.
50 would bring it up to 174.
Yeah,
So one.
and then that would be that we only have 3 years worth of applications, then we're cutting off the entire town, so to make it extended for people who are buying newer properties and want to rent them out, I would suggest making it 25 for this year. So that we
I think
put
that's-
25 the next fall, we started out with 3 years, 25.
Yeah, my opinion is that's a pretty big drop for one, from 100 to 25. It leaves us really nowhere to go for the following year.
One thought that I have not, I don't agree, but it sounds like a lot. The term of renewal is annual.
No, the permit is a 2-year permit. But
So-
the inspection is a yearly inspection, and you must pass the inspection each year.
So
So,
in order to drop off.
so the ones that got it last year would potentially be dropping off for 2024
Could be. if
Could
they
be.
didn't do
if they don't renew. So a number of those may go away.
into, or in a year.
And would you say it was non-owner occupied 58?
Non-owner occupied currently is 58 and owner occupied is 66. The owner occupied are kind of a non-issue because they're not taking anything away as long as they're being done properly and being run safely. It's not taking away from housing. And I hear your point of taking away housing units.
And continuing housing is, and I've also heard a lot of complaints about people who have neighbors with Airbnbs that are non-owner occupied, with this issues, and a majority of, the constables neighbor to neighbor complaints are non-owner occupied Airbnbs.
Yeah, that's an enforcement issue though. That's not I wouldn't want to penalize somebody who's doing it right for somebody who's doing it wrong. I
Well,
mean,
they already have one if they're doing it right.
right, but we can take away somebody's permit if they're in violation. And if they're not properly running it, their permit can go away.
So, sorry, we have 81 grandfathers, 58 that are non.
We have 64 owner occupied and 58 non-owner occupied. We don't know what was grandfathered, but the grandfathered still have to renew. The grandfathered ones, the owner occupied are allowed to do it by filing a permit. The non-owner occupied are the ones that are in the cap.
I would say last year we set a number at 100.
We set it at 100, we
filled
only have
50.
58.
We only did 58. If we set it 50 this year, you would think it would be 20 or maybe even 30,
Well, if we set it at 52, we set 100 this year, we only had 58. So if we get another 50, we're only at 108.
And what we thought would be okay last year.
Yeah.
But I still think 50 is the right number. And then, again, I think this year also, to Charlotte's point is it'll be interesting to see who doesn't renew or who falls off the books. We'll start playing with that percentage as well, because maybe it's a very low amount, maybe it's a moderate amount.
And the reason we said we would set it in September, so people could make plans, so they could apply as of January.
So we're saying we're leaving a gap of 90 additional short-term transit rentals.
I'm not sure how you're doing, where that.
There's 58 non-owner occupied, so there's another, you said it at 100, so we can add 40 on top of that. And then we're saying-
Well, we could add 40 more in this calendar year, but if in this calendar year, if we've only done 48 in 7 months, 58 in 7 months, and some of those might have even been grandfathered, is it likely that we're gonna get 42 new ones in the next 4 months?
So
So new has to be, it's not.
It doesn't roll
it doesn't
over.
roll over.
that's, so we
So
would say
January
number
1,
would
the
be-
number goes to 50. Doesn't,
50.
what happened previously
So
is
it'll be 58 plus, or 58 or whatever, wherever we end up this year plus 50.
plus 50. Possibility,
Let's no more.
no more than
23 brand new non-owner occupied permits available. 23 once the calendar.
So if we fill up the quota for this year by the end of the year, and then we have 50, I agree, that seems like a lot.
Agreed, but we gotta look at probability, you know, we're only at 58 now,
They
7 months in.
They'll expire, in December, so someone applied for one, right? If they apply for one now, it's only good for a year and 2 months.
The original,
The first one.
the grandfather ones, no, they were good for 2 years. We did
2 years from the date.
2 years,
they-
no, it was 2 years from
From January first.
the inspection was the part that we were overlapping. Because we didn't want all the inspections to have to be done in January. So anybody who got a permit, got grandfathered in, is good from January 1, 2022 to December 31, 2023.
So what about
So that's
somebody
the
who
point
got
I'm
a
making.
new one?
That's the point I'm making, is if someone got a new one.
They're good for 2 years.
From when? From January first or from the date they got?
I don't remember.
That's what your question
That's the
is,
point
right?
I'm making,
Yeah.
is that it would be if someone pressed interest to wait until January, in which case we probably would not see people.
I think we put in there
Yeah,
that
there's a
that
date
they're all.
There was a date that if you purchased it by, I can't remember what it
Oh,
was, but
right.
it was October, then you got the rest of the year plus the following.
Yeah.
That was just the initial
Yeah.
grandfather.
Do we need to decide this now?
Yes. We said, the law says we will set it at the September 4th meeting.
September.
It's September
September,
1st.
this is September 1st.
Yeah.
Let Mary Lou look up the answer to that question.
If it's September.
I believe any that were started in 2022 will be good until the end of 2020.
Right, and
I don't think it was 2 months from the day of permit, I think it was, or 2 years, I think it was the account. I think we treated it the same way as we do manufactured housing parks, where they all come due the same time. And that's the code enforcement, I remember now, because that's, code enforcement
they
wants
wanted
that.
it,
Because they want them all due at the same time, so they don't have to say, you know, this
They don't
one's
have
due
to
this
not know.
day and this one's due this day.
Is there a reason for that in September? Like, is there a budget reason or something? Or-
It was
And
a
so
timing.
people have time to plan, make plans ahead. That's what the law states, you know, so we can't,
No, sure, but we can change, if it would make it easier for us to see in future years what we want to do.
I honestly think we're overthinking it.
I
think we did a
agree.
nice job in the first year. I think we had another 50 onto it and see what the year brings. And the more we do it, the more information we'll have to make adjustments.
bear in mind, the number of the ones we got in 2023 were ones that probably were already there and just got caught up and had.
If as a bet man, and I am, I bet we get another 5 to 10 by the end of the year, and we get probably another 12 to 25 next year. But using the limit of 50, I don't think so.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people who bought second homes up here and moved them, you know, during COVID era, now that COVID has slowed down, are probably trickling back to the city and want to be able to pay the mortgages on those houses, and are probably going to try to rent them out, just because there's long-term rentals in them. They're just going to turn them into Airbnb. And it's going to make more
I thought the law.
short-term rentals who already have their applications, so it's
I can-
areas
I
for
can-
rentals. Working at a food pantry, I know at least 12 families that have had to move out of Rondout School District that their children are in, and moved to Kingston, worked already, there's no house in Stockton. So to kind of try to promote that and decrease the short-term rentals, that's what I would suggest. How to get back some, since we do already have over 100 and towns that are just registered. We know that there's probably at least a quarter of that operating under the radar.
The comptroller is saying that there's a handful, less than
12.
10. Yeah, or 12.
They comb the
The
site.
permit to operate
Gary.
a short-term transient rental in any given year will expire on December 31st, except an initial permit approved after September 1st of the calendar year shall be allowed to run through December 31st of the subsequent year. And it says all renewal permits shall run from January 1st to December 31st of the calendar year, so they're not.
Now, the permit is a 2-year permit.
The permit to operate a short-term transient rental in any given year will expire on December 31st. except an initial permit approved for this after September 1st of the calendar year shall be allowed to run through September 31st of the subsequent year. So it would be helpful for them to get it now.
Yeah.
Because then they
So we
get an
may see
extra.
about-
Well, the other thing is that we only be offering 2023 permits as of today. It would be-
The renewal is every 2 years.
It's under general permit, permit shall expire on December 31st,
if they were-
except if it's approved after September.
September 1st.
Guys, let's just keep one conversation, sorry.
Have fun minute.
Yeah.
Look at Christie.
You got this.
It's, on the renewal though, Mary Lou, because remember, we had the whole thing about the biennial.
Biennial.
Yeah.
Application,
Maybe we couldn't decide between biennial and biannual, so we decided.
no, it is a 2-year permit. It definitely is a 2-year permit. I think the reason we say it expires on December 31st, it's not December 31st of the year you get it.
Right.
It's just they all expire on December 31st.
And,
And if we need to correct the language, we will, but
and the section that Mary Lou just read is for the current year. If you apply after September 1st, you
Right.
get a bonus.
right.
So just like you were saying, it would be as if you're getting a 2022 permit, but it's counting against this year. So you could potentially see a rush.
We
because
could.
Then that's almost 90 for 2023 is new permit.
It's possible, it's incentivized to get it at the end of the year because
If you're,
You're getting 3 extra months.
But you're getting a 2023 permit.
but it does, it
I see what she's saying. If somebody gets it in the end of 2022 and she's adding the 50 to it, so there's 42 left.
Yeah.
And another 50 is 92, that potentially between September 1st and the end of 2023, we could get another 92.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
on December 31st, that 42 or whatever that number is of unused permits doesn't roll over. It resets to 50 on January 1.
We have to decide this in the regular meeting of September, or it could be in the workshop meeting. Did we say a September meeting?
I don't think so.
Maybe we can table it?
No, we
Mary
can't.
Lou has a lot.
I haven't. I tend to agree with Adam. I think we're really overthinking it. I mean, if you want to change it to 40 or something, I think 25. So here it is, the cap. Henceforth, the initial cap shall be established for the year 2022 at the town board organizational meeting after the initial grandfathering period of registration. Henceforth, the tax cap, the number of available permits, including those that have been grandfathered, shall be established, or not including those that have been grandfathered, sorry, shall be established for the following year by the town board. Oh, we're even late. Annually on or before August 1st of each calendar year. I thought it said September. Utilizing a percentage of the number of housing units on the town of Rochester assessor final tax roll for that year and the number of grandfathered permits for that same year. So the number of permits as of August 1st is,
But I'm confused now because grandfathered are only the initial, so we're setting the cap.
no, in this case, the grandfathered is anybody who has a permit can continue until it's taken away. It's a different definition of permit.
We just keep increasing the stock of them.
Yeah,
Unless
unless
he's setting the cap that high, then that means you have something additional every year.
But no, each year we get to set the cap. So if we fill up the 50 next year, we can say the following year is 0.
yes.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, why not extend it, make it so that we don't have to say 0 next year and just do 25 this year.
Because we have to correct year to year. It's only the first year of the law. And like I said, this year, we only got a feeling of what is actually in inventory. I would say that there was probably very few brand new ones for 2022 in the last 9 months.
I'm guessing.
I think this is probably the most important sample set is what happens between now and next year. And the handcuff it at 25, I think it was, I don't think it was the original intent of the law, you know, or the exercise.
Would you said 40? 35.
I do maybe 35. I think 50 is way too high, because like I said, if they can fill out the other 42 that are left for this year, that's
That's
over.
But I
still under
just
what we
don't-
were saying.
But I just don't, I don't think that, you know, my feeling is that that's a possibility, but I just don't think it's reality. We've had 132 in a year,
Of which most were here operating here already.
122, excuse me, 122, of which I agree, most were probably here already. I don't think there's that many people
Well,
clamoring.
we had 81 grandfathered, and we don't know how many of those, is that what we're saying? We don't know how many of those are owner occupied?
And why don't we know that? Is that like for next year, can we figure that out?
Yes, we can. They were not able to give it to me at that moment. Okay. So that's why we don't know.
And then there were 58 new permits for owner occupied, so that doesn't include.
Well, no, there's 58 non-owner occupied total. Some of those may have been grandfathered in. We don't know. We know it's no more than 58. It's probably less than that. Some of the non-owner occupied probably applied in the grandfathering period.
Got it, yeah.
So in reality, it could only be 20 or 30 new ones.
I would say that the original law was simply a shot in the dark. We really didn't have a lot of numbers to work with. With all their due diligence, we're actually very, very close. So
We were estimating 200,
Yeah.
was our estimate from day one.
So to scale it back in half for this year feels like the very reasonable thing to do. I don't think this law was intended, especially in the first couple of years, to be as restrictive as we're, you know, as we're trying to make it. I don't think that was the idea.
We also, I see other towns, Woodstock, for example, is just having hearings on increasing their cap number. I just saw it in the Freeman today, because they have, now I will admit their code was a lot more restrictive than ours,
Oh, we have a thing.
Yeah, I was less than 3 years.
but I don't think the housing issue is because of short-term rentals.
I mean, you guys can vote on it as it is. I just not gonna vote that.
I would go on with lowering to 40. I just don't,
I would
see the reason to go any lower.
I would support that, yeah, because.
Yeah, if you want to.
So I'd like to make an amendment to the resolution to establish the cap of 40 new permits for non-owner occupied.
I'll second that. So we need to first vote on the amendment itself, and then we vote on the resolution as amended. So just on the amendment, we're not voting on the resolution, we're just on the change to the resolution. So on the amendment, all in favor?
You don't have to vote on the amendment. If you have before you voted on it, you can have the
Okay.
amendment.
I'm
That's second and then
following the way I read it and the way the county legislature does it. They vote on the amendment. And then
Okay,
vote
they
on
have
the
their own
amendment.
rules. So I mean, if you guys want to do that, that's fine, but not required.
Okay,
However,
that's
you
how
guys want-
that's how we've been doing it all year.
I know.
every time we make an
And I
amendment.
would say you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is.
Okay, so we'll vote on the amended resolution then. I'm sorry, it just sort of threw me because suddenly we're changing what we've done all year.
So the vote is on.
The vote is on the amended resolution.
Okay.
Sorry, Chrissy. The
That's
vote is
fine.
on the amendment. So we're changing 50 to 40. The amendment is made by Aaron, seconded by me. So all in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Any abstain? Okay. So we changed it to 40. Next. Authorizing the supervisor to sign a contract for landfill monitoring. Upon recommendation of the town supervisor, Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the contract proposal from CT Mail Associates Engineering Surveying, Architecture, Landscape Architecture, Geology, DPC, to provide landfill monitoring and reporting services during the 2022 calendar year for the Town of Rochester landfill located in Accord, New York, as per the proposal dated July 25, 2022, and authorize the town supervisor to sign the contract. I'll make the resolution. Have a second?
I'll second.
Answer your question, Mary Lou, they had the rate in a different section in the $1 million liability.
Now, I know that, that was in the liability net,
Oh, okay,
kind of the way it was phrased, kind of.
okay. Because they made the two changes and then I sent them your concerns and they replied back that they pointed that out to me that it was.
If you're satisfied with the insurance, you might want to say upon approval of our insurance agent.
Okay, so I'll amend the resolution to say upon agreement of the limit of liability from our insurance agent.
Limited liability for the indemnity.
Okay, for the indemnity clause by our insurance agent. So I'll have Dwight review and then tell me if that is.
If he says it's sufficient, that's great. Which I mean.
He's always told me $1 million and that they have.
Right, but that's not indemnity. That's not indemnity.
Okay.
That's insurance.
So I'll amend the motion then to,
You made.
I'll amend the second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay. Next, moving to discussion items. There'll be some possible resolutions and a lot of handouts for you guys. Start with, this is the policy proposal from Marshall and Sterling. Charlotte. So this is what deals with resolution I. So we'll start with that first. If you turn to, and because it's so many pages, I didn't print out a copy for you, Mary. Really was getting too involved in this. You go to this page, which has our schedule on there. Our current policy is the current plan, the one that's in the shaded. The renewal plan is the one that's next to it. Marshall and Sterling is recommending that we stay with the silver plan. The increase is from the current rate to the new rate for single coverage is $45.71 per month. Employee spouse rate is an increase of $91.42 per month. Increase of employee child is $77.70 per month. Increase of family coverage is $130.27 per month. It averages out to a 5% monthly increase. That's not bad, considering. Good night. Considering at one point they were talking about possibly as much as 10% increases. Marshall and Sterling feels this is very fair. They did send me a warning though. MVP had filed with New York State for next year's policy, which we'll be doing in December 2023, with a 10% increase and a raising of the deductibles. Now, whether New York State will allow that or not, who knows? It's in review. Minnie is just very good at scouring those submittals to the Insurance Review Board. I'm sure you can explain it better than I can. She sent me a sort of fair warning, but she recommends that we continue with this plan for this year. She doesn't think we can get a better deal. The silver plan is we've had for a long time. It's done us very well. The employees like it. They can use it just about anywhere they go. They like the way the deductible works where we pay the first 40, they pay the middle 20, we pay the next 40. So I'm confident with this plan. There's a couple other questions we have to answer moving forward, but for this initial resolution. So anybody, any questions? Or she does provide all these other options. We don't have to decide tonight. We should decide by the end of this month or at the very latest, the beginning of October, because the policy expires November 30th, 2022. And we usually have an informational meeting sometime in mid-October with all the employees. So then they have 2 or 3 weeks to pick which coverages they want or don't want and get all the paperwork signed. So we get it all to Marshall and Sterling by mid-November so they can get it all on the books. So we're not pressed to decide tonight. We could table this if you wanted. And I realize I just handed this all to you tonight.
I would like to say.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. I can tell you though, my recommendation based on the coverage and what we get in 4 years of dealing with them is that we stay with the plan. So what I'll do is if everybody's okay, I'm going to table it to our workshop meeting. I'd like to get it moving now and not wait till October. So take a look at that. So the resolution was just as a possible. The next is a renewal of the MVP Select Care. What that is that's the program where we pay the 40, the employee pays the middle 20, and the 40%. It costs $250 per month, and the deductible remains the same. So it's essentially exactly as it is right now. For you guys' knowledge, new employees pay 20% of their health insurance premiums. And if they include a spouse or family member or a spouse, child, or family, they pay 50% of that additional coverage, the cost of that. We have a number of employees who are grandfathered in anywhere from 20% across the board to 15% across the board to as low as 0% across the board. There are some employees who've been with us that long that they don't pay anything for their health insurance. So,
And in that case, we pay the.
we pay the full premium. It's deducted out of each year. Once we establish the plan, I come up with the amount to be deducted weekly out of their paychecks. And that starts with the first payroll period in December. So that's resolution J. There's nothing additional to look at. It's all in that. Next, the flexible spending account. We are allowed to offer to employees the ability to pay into a flexible spending account that will pay for a large number of things, including things like gym memberships. It will pay for over-the-counter drugs. It will include anything that is not covered under health insurance, essentially. There's a lot of things. If you need ace bandages, I mean, I needed a brace for my elbow. It paid for that. It will pay for a lot of things. The employee can choose how much they want to enroll in for the year. This year, the IRS will allow a $100 increase from last year, from this current year, which will be up to $2,850 instead of $2,750. We also then give the employees, they have a 2.5-month grace period at the end of the policy period to use up. It's a use it or lose it. If you don't use the money, you lost it. But we have to sign an agreement for it. So that's what resolution K is about. Currently, we have about 8 employees who take advantage of it. I'm one of them. Christina is one of them. I will say that last year's, because of COVID, we did a resolution to roll everything over. So everybody has the stuff they had last year. They have until the end of this year to use it.
Like last year with the FSA, we talked about employee benefit communication to try and get the numbers up. Is that something Marshall and Sterling's gonna do for us, or?
Yeah, she talks about it at the meetings, you know, there's just a lot of employees, and I'll be honest, myself included, like, I went down to $10 a week this year at 520. I haven't even touched it yet. I'm still working on the year before's money. I may
That's a good
lose
thing.
all that.
My family always goes and buys our new glasses in
The
December.
new glasses, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm probably gonna do, is go get a new pair of glasses, but, you know, and that's only gonna cover some of it.
Band-Aid.
Yeah, yeah. So, yes, she talks it up, but a lot of employees are just wary of the lose it part of it.
Yeah.
So,
It's such a good program.
Some
for
people
that need it.
some people utilize it very well. Others, it's just not worth it to them. Next is the dental insurance. We agreed last year, we pay 75% of the coverage. This is the first time we've ever offered dental insurance was this year. I'll be very honest, I'm gonna call Minnie, and I didn't get a chance to. I'm curious how many people have actually used it. I don't know who has or hasn't. We did tell them that nobody should be doing the family or employee child coverage though, because the MVP policy covers all children under 18 with pediatric dental. So anybody who has a child, they either should only sign up for single or employee spouse. Currently, that percentage is the single person is paying $2.01 a week out of their paycheck, and the employee spouse is paying $4.02 a week out of their paycheck. So, and actually, we do have one employee child because the pediatric is 18 and under, but the MVP for the MVP, but the CDHP, a child is under 26. So if anybody has, I think it's 26, maybe. But anybody who has kids between 18 and 26 are taking the employee child or the family plan. They would be the only ones who would want it. But it is, oh, I have handouts for that too. These are the choices of the plans that we can pick. The one we picked last year is traditional PPO based on coverage. And now there was a 6-month waiting period for anybody for major work, but now anybody who's been in it this year, anybody new would have to wait 6 months, but anybody who's been in it. So.
Like we talked last year about participation on this was excellent.
Yeah, most people took it. Most people took it. I can give you a numbers if you'd like.
I just remember being very well.
Now, we did also extend, we currently offer health insurance to any full-time employees. We did a resolution last year that we are considering for health insurance purposes only, anybody who has 28 hours or greater, instead of 35. For New York State, our full-time employees are 35 hours or greater. But for health insurance benefits, we made the decision last year to offer health insurance because somebody who's working 4 days a week, and just because their job doesn't, you know, like our transfer station guys, for example, are working 32 hours a week. They're not 35, but they're still working 32 hours. Or our court clerks who are working 28, but then are doing 2 or 3 hours a week or 4 hours as court night. They're up to 32. So we set our limit at 28 hours for health insurance.
So it's never debated providing health insurance.
We thought it was very fair. Beyond below 28, I would agree that that's the part that, you know, so, but just to sort of fill you guys in on that. So take a look at the Delta Dental, see what you think. The next is vision insurance. We do not currently offer it. MVP has it in their plan right now. However, starting next year, they're dropping it. They have come out with a paid plan that Minnie provided for us. You guys have not met Minnie yet, but Minnie is very candid. And Minnie starts everything with saying, I work for you, not for the insurance company, because she's our broker. She doesn't work for MVP. She said, this MVP plan, quote her, don't do it. Terrible was her word. She provided it to me. We can take a look at it. Her suggestion is that if we want to include vision, which we do not currently, that we look into this Empire Specialty plan as an alternative. It is a little more expensive than the MVP plan, but she thought we should look at it. And we would be in the category of under 50 employees, I believe, even though we have over 50 participants, I believe. Yeah, we would be in the 2 to 50 range. So take a look at those two. You can decide, Adam, you know, I know this is your business, although like you said before, you don't do health insurance, but you could really maybe offer some insight as to what's good and what's not. Any questions? And like I said, I know I threw a lot at you tonight, but it's just something comes up every September. So, if not, then moving on, I'd like to talk about the ADA bathroom at the Justice Court. Here's for you guys. Here's a copy for you. Here's for you guys. Here's a copy for you. This is the same RFP that we put out earlier in the year. I changed the date to 2 p.m. Tuesday, September 20th, which happens to be the day before our workshop meeting. And if you look at the timetable on part 2, if we decide to move forward with this tonight, I would publish the RFP tomorrow. I would do a very fast track, questions and clarifications due September 8th. Answers would be back on the 12th. September 20th would be the deadline in the opening. We would then review those proposals at our workshop meeting. We would then offer contract no later than October 6th, which happens to be our regular meeting in October. And we would ask for it to be completed by December. Part of the reason I'm speeding this up is we don't know that JCAP isn't going to come say, give us some money back. They haven't asked for it back yet. I'm reluctant to ask them because they may. The new JCAP for 2023, that grant application is going to come out in October. So it's due in October. So they tend to start looking back at last year around this time and say, who's still out there? So if we get something signed and in place before they ask, we can go, hey, look, you know, we did receive one quote from a contractor after the fact, unsolicited. I'm told by the court clerks that there is a second person who is interested. She called me actually today and said, what's going on with it? Somebody asked me about it. I said, well, we may be putting out a new RFP. It's over 35,000, so it does have to be a sealed bid. I asked Mary Lou if, based on the fact that there were no responses to the original, if we could just accept a proposal, and she said no. And she's right. 100% right. I thought I'd ask. So
Just in case you get some more.
yeah. So this is kind of a no harm, no foul. If we get proposals, we look at them. If we don't, I think then we're going to give the money back. So, or ask them if we can use it for something else.
Is this including the design it, right? We never found an architect firm.
No, I never. I asked 3 different firms and I got lots of babies, yeses, you know, and nothing ever happened. So, but I will tell you that the one firm that put in the proposal had no issue how they designed it.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a bad.
Enough.
Mike, I just
One thing.
Yep.
On here you have RFP. It may have to be bid,
Request for bid?
because don't we have another spot where we just need request for proposal?
Yeah, you are
For
correct. So
something
we're gonna
else,
say
right?
request for bid.
Yeah.
So invitation, everywhere it says proposal, I'm gonna change it.
Thank you.
I'll just do a word search. As I've scanned through, I'm finding it a couple other places, so. Now, bear in mind, we did do this as a best value. Does the board want to still keep it a best value, or do we want to just blow that up and just go to lowest bid? I still kind of like the idea of the best value. It puts a little more work on us to go through the proposal, but. And we also.
haven't had
Get
many
those. I don't want
proposals.
somebody coming in
There's
with
two
a big
proposals.
And we also have the option that if there's a limited number of bids, we can just award and not go through the process. I mean, we put this out last time in March or April and got 0.
It's nothing before May.
It went,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure before May.
Yeah, maybe it was February. No, we got the money in February. I think we did in March.
All right.
So, was the board prepared? We can do this resolution?
Right,
Yeah.
supervisor to circulate an RFB.
RFB. Well, it's a proposed resolution right now, so it's not.
Okay.
Oh, as amended instead of as presented, yes. Got it. But that's not an amendment to the resolution, we're just changing the words. Charlotte, second?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was taking it now.
Any discussion?
Get a bathroom.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Next, received a proposal from the Recreation Department for our after-school program. Ashley did a very nice job. She would like to start Monday, October 3rd, and then Friday, June 16th. Normally, we start in sometime in September, but with the summer program and everything, she said, let's just sort of wait on that for the moment. So it would be Monday through Friday, 2:30 to 5:30. The school is great, and the bus, which Carol is still here, the bus company working with us to bring the kids directly here. They're dropped off, the aides go out and meet them and bring them in. The staff arrives at 2 and stays until the last child is picked up. If Roundup Valley School District is closed, we are closed. If they dismiss early, after school activities are canceled, and our program is closed. She's asking, and this is what she budgeted for, is 4 recreation coordinators each day. It would be 6 in total. She rotates them based on availability. It will vary, but will remain within the budget. And this was included in her budget proposal, both the staffing as well as the revenue from the cost. So the registration would accommodate up to 30 children per day. Parents can register. She'd like to start registration. She's saying Monday, September 6th, but I don't know if she remembered that. That's not Monday. That's
I was gonna say
Tuesday.
that's
It's
Tuesday.
It's also Labor Day.
Yeah, no, she meant Tuesday. Because we are not here on Monday. You have to be a student in Roundup Valley. We do open it up to Marbletown, Cohasset, and some of the kids are not. They are from Rosendale or Marbletown, not all that many, but it is a paid service, and it more or less pays for itself. We have not had an issue where she had to turn somebody. I would ask her to never to turn a Rochester resident away for somebody else. That would be my one sort of request for her. The $80 a month pays for it. We essentially break even on this. We're not making any money, we're not losing. that pays the cost of the program. So.
This is an essential service for people here in town. We've been intermittent with it and had to cancel it. because of
Last 2
COVID.
years.
It would be a joy and really a big deal.
And I think the numbers, I mean, I know the COVID, and I think I skipped the COVID report, but there's 3 in the town of Rochester that are currently reported. That doesn't necessarily mean there's 131 in the county. To me, that's not a significant number and we follow whatever the rules of the school are in terms of masks and all that, so I'd ask for a resolution then authorizing the supervisor or authorizing the recreation director, not me, authorize the recreation director to advertise and administer the after-school program for 2022 and 2023 as presented.
I'll make that resolution.
Motion.
That motion, okay.
I'll second.
Okay, I think we've already discussed it, so anything else added? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have a request from the assessor. There was some training he wanted to go to. Unfortunately, the due date for that was yesterday, and I went ahead and authorized it. It is the annual Assessors Conference. He has been attending them regularly. Mike Dunham did not like these things and didn't go to them, so it was not in the budget. Jeremy did just go to some training and came back certified. He likes to go to these. He thinks he gains a lot. I think it's worthwhile. The total cost probably going to be less than $1,000. I don't have the exact cost in front of me, but I did tell him to go ahead and sign up. We will find the money somewhere. I think it's important. Second request I am coming to you guys for, because we can put them off for another few months and ask you to put it in next year's budget. He really would like a new desk. The desk is really a fiberboard desk. Kind of like, it's not a school child's desk, but it's not a good desk. He found some pricing for me, some various options, everywhere from like $600 to like $1,200 plus $290 shipping. We used to get furniture from Mike's Used Furniture in Kingston, but they're out of business.
I think Mike was 400.
Oh, okay.
Oh, great, that happened.
Maybe I'll go ask him to go take a look there first before we order something, because it's not so much the cost, but the shipping of these from
Yeah.
Staples of like $300 to ship a desk. It's crazy. So what I'd like to do is ask the board for a maximum amount spend on the desk plus shipping, if necessary, and go from there. So
I'm thinking $500 gets a nice desk, especially if it's used. But I was just looking, Mike is still open.
it is still
Yeah,
open.
yeah, it is.
Okay, maybe I'll send it there.
They have a lot of great office furniture. They have what I've been.
Yeah. He would like to get sort of the one he was looking at was pieces and parts to make a desk because of the
Yeah.
cadenza. Yeah. Can we go to 600 to be? Yeah. Are people comfortable with that? We can find it. And I'll just tell him I'm gonna like take some of it out of next year's budget. Something else he wants next year, we won't commit to.
Doesn't get the chair until 2024.
He got the chair already. I broke down and bought the chair because the chair he had was.
Right, we signed those vouchers.
Yeah, there was unfortunately, when he got the chair, 3 other people decided, and they were all right.
Yeah.
A number of the chairs in our offices vary.
Man, I had an Afghan on my office chair,
Yeah.
while 8 months pregnant, at the food pantry to cover the whole
Um,
thing. So,
Was really elderly attorney retired, and he gave me his chair. I think the chair came when he passed the bar exam, and I couldn't get rid of it because he loved his chair, and he gifted it to me.
Oh, no.
And he used to visit, so I had to use his chair. It was just horrible.
So I guess I'll make a resolution that we authorize the supervisor to expend no more than $600 for the purchase of a desk for the assessor.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
I support the used furniture route.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do too. Now that I know Mike's is still available, I thought. I'm sure it's going to be.
Yeah, my.
Maybe awesome, too.
Maybe we close going over.
You gotta keep going there all the time.
All in favor?
Yep.
I,
Opposed? Next on the agenda, the zoning laws. I just kind of wanted to get a, here's where I'm thinking. We're now up through letter R, S, okay. O, P, Q, R, S.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's F.
Yes. I'm gonna try to knock off another 5 and come back to you with the workshop meeting with another 5. By that point, we should be getting close to moving forward. What I would like to do is when we're all done and got all the comments back, that we consolidate them all, we do one of two things. We either do a local law per article or a local law for the whole chapter, the whole thing, because we've already gone through the first round of feedback. We are going to have to re-refer it to everybody, but we've already referred it the first time, and hopefully we're going to incorporate some of their comments into the changes. So it should be fairly simple. It might be a little cumbersome, which is why I'm thinking the interim route of doing article by article. We are going to have to spend some time on the map and the definitions, which we're kind of, and the uses, which we're kind of leaving till the end. We're shooting for our December 7th deadline, but I'll be honest, I don't know if we're going to make it because of referrals and things. However, what I would like to propose is that we finish zoning before we go into subdivision. If we have to extend the moratorium 3 months, we can potentially still finish zoning by January. Then we could end the moratorium on the site plan and subdivision, continue the moratorium on, site plan and special use, and then continue the moratorium on subdivision until we finish that. But that's kind of where my thinking is. I mean, I'm going to keep trying to come to you guys with 5 or 6 chapters a month until we're done. I think any more than that, and bear in mind, month of October, we're going to have at least 3 budget meetings, special meetings. So in the month of October, we're going to be meeting every week.
we will schedule those at our.
Well, I was going to ask everybody to look at your dates in October. The budget, our workshop, our audit meeting is September 29th. The budget is due September 30th, and Kate is required to present it no later than October 5th. Our meeting is not until the 6th. I'm going to try my hardest to get it to her by the 29th so she can present it to us at that meeting. In which case, the October 6th meeting, which is our regular business meeting, I don't think we want to try to tackle budget and regular meeting at the same time. I just think it's too much. So we would then need to schedule 2 or 3 more. We would have to decide if we want to use our workshop meeting in October for budget, or we want to keep it for zoning and schedule yet another meeting for budget. And then we have our audit meeting where we usually also do budget. By the end of October, we should have our finished product ready to go for public hearing, and then set the public hearing in early November. So that's our goal.
So you might want to put in a requisition for sleeping bags.
But it's your guys' call if you want to sort of put the zoning to the side for the month of October, and I certainly understand that. Or if you want to try to muscle through and get them, do it all. The budget workshop too, this has been our preference of how we do it. There is no requirement that we meet and discuss. Previous boards presented it, set it for public hearing, and voted on it. We, since I've been supervisor, and Adam and Aaron now have been through it for 2 years, we've had budget workshop meetings where we go through every single line, and I find it really helpful, transparent. And
We're also pretty close at the end of the year.
yeah, and we invite, we invite different departments to come present if we want to. I'm in the middle of getting them all their budget requests, and they'll have them all hopefully by Tuesday. So I've gotten about a third of them done so far through today. So
I'd be for pushing the zoning a month, to give the option to extend the moratorium 3 months, just to make it.
I think we're gonna go past,
Pushing it off, yeah, so-
November, December anyway. I just don't see us
Yeah, I
having a
don't
final
see
product
us
by December.
pushing everything that
We
you've
always
done.
could schedule an extra meeting in December. I know it's holiday time, but we always could schedule an extra meeting to try to push through that. Or November for that matter. October is, I think we need to just focus on budget.
I agree.
Okay,
I have loads of time to December.
Yeah, November, December.
so try to, in relation to that, try to look at your calendars, come back to the workshop meeting with any dates that you would be available in October, any nights to do special meetings. Bear in mind that if we don't do the zoning, we can use the October workshop meeting as our one budget, and we can use the audit meeting as one budget meeting. So we just need to find one more. The planning, because there's a holiday, we did meet last year on Columbus Day, which is the first Monday. The planning board is meeting on the Wednesday of that week. They're moving their Monday meeting to Wednesday. So the Thursday, the 13th, is a possibility for us to have this space. Because we got to compete with other boards and commissions for the space. So, but take a look at your calendar that week, the week of Columbus Day, and see if you can find a day that works. The 13th would be great if it works for everybody. We'll wait for a moment, but in the meantime, let me, regarding the local law, does the board feel comfortable to do seeker tonight? Okay, so I have drafts.
This is the what, 7?
Yeah, for 7. We can do it whether we adopt the local law or not. We can still do the seeker. I'll wait for Charlotte to get back.
Do we have a item S, housing committee?
Yep, that's what, but that's mostly her. So I just handed this out in the meantime. No,
So,
no, we'll do the item S, and then we'll add the seeker, and then we'll add the resolution. Let me also pass that around, and we want to look at the application. Actually, I wasn't off by much. I told you 9 o'clock. It's 8:59 now.
Hurry up, you have 2 minutes.
Oh, Charlotte, there we go.
So while we're waiting, I want you to know, I know you got this pen, working.
Oh, me?
Yes, but honestly, it's like, she looks like she just got back from the Riviera. or something.
Yeah.
With the black shirt, it's like, you look like you've been somewhere very elegant.
Well, your hair. is
But I know it
a lot of
involves
odd
potatoes.
highlights in the sun.
Yeah,
I
I know
have
it
a-
involved potatoes, but.
Yeah. You can't see one of those. They're like.
Your farmer's hand?
Yeah. I have a hat that's open that I can wear it around my ear protection. So it might
get your
have gotten
highlight.
very.
Okay, housing committee. We got, does anybody remember six or seven? Six applications. We had put it at 5 to 7. My question is, I'd like to either do one of two things. Either we should try to advertise again, see if we can get some more additions before we start interviewing. Or I'd like to ask Charlotte to contact people, and we should decide how we want to do these interviews now that we're adding more meetings. You know, our workshop meetings could get tough trying to do that in zoning laws. And so, but I don't want anything to get put by the wayside. So I would sort of want to throw it out to everybody else and say, what's our next step? Do we interview who we have? Do we advertise for more?
I would like more applicants.
I think that I would agree with that. I think it's have a little more choice. I don't know if necessarily think it's fair to interview the people and then make them wait while
Yeah,
we
that's
then
how, that's
advertise
what,
for more.
that's exactly what.
I agree that I don't want to make people wait, apply, but like, we also should.
I can get you all the contact info of the people who did apply, Charlotte. If you would sort of take the lead and just contact them all and let them know we appreciate, you know,
Yes, I have one
It's
person
received.
email me and I
Yeah.
just
let them know it's
about it.
received. We've only gotten 6 applicants, so we're gonna put out another call for applicants, and that we'll be back in touch with them very soon for interviews. Does that make sense to everybody? And I'll get the Shotgun Journal. Do we want to pay for an ad, or do we want to just try to get the Shotgun Journal and the Bristol to do it in the story? I think that works. I'm not so sure a paid ad actually calls attention. I know people don't always look at the ads because they assume it's a business.
Yeah, I think if we could do it as a story.
Okay, so I'll do that. I'll get something out to them for their next edition. Oh, unfortunately, the Bluestone just is coming out tomorrow, so the next one for them won't be for 2 more weeks, because it's not gonna be tomorrow, so that's for sure. So,
Well, that gives me time to contact the other applicants and stuff, but I don't think that's the end of the world.
So it'll be in the 16th Bluestone, and so maybe we say replies back by the, we want to say the 23rd, we want to say the 30th.
I think I'm fine with the 30th. I don't think
Okay.
trying to interview for the housing committee would be too as disruptive as like
Okay.
need a whole special meeting for it, you know?
Okay, so I'll just say, you know, deadline for applicant or for letters of interest is September 5th. It's a nice, easy date to remember.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. At the end of the month, it's easy then.
Okay, no resolutions or anything needed for that. Next resolution, we got an application for a transfer station laborer. Aaron, do you want to, Aaron interviewed him.
Yep.
You want to just report back?
Sure, yeah, we had an interview at the transportation, interview and tour at the transportation on Wednesday. And thought that, and this individual can start as soon as possible. And it, you know, had also spoken with Jeff, Jeff contacted a former supervisor, and also I think that he's also worked with someone in the highway department, so we've gotten some.
Yeah, I mean, we have an opening. We've been looking. We exhausted all the previous applicants. None of them were interested in coming back. We didn't actually put another ad out because the cost of that, but we were just sort of, we have Seth, my assistant, has been working there on Saturdays at an overtime rate because he's now working 48 hours a week. So we'll save us some cost. Although ultimately it's still been cheaper than paying a third person, but we have budgeted for the full year for 3 people. And we even budgeted with the thought that maybe over the summer, we would have gone to a 5th day, but we never did. In general, the numbers are down this year at the transfer station. I'm not quite sure why, but they are a little lower than usual. I haven't seen a rash of garbage along the roads, so I don't know. I'm not sure why.
That's the exchange.
Maybe. that may be part of it. But
Out of it.
Anyway,
Is
so-
that, does he want to continue?
no, he's happy to stop. Yeah, he's happy to stop. He said, he's been doing it because he likes the work, he likes the money, but he's happy to stop and have 2 days a week off instead of 1 day a week off.
And also right now, it's even on a slow day, you can't have just one person working there, so no one. It'd be good. So I think.
And having the third person, there's some maintenance issues that we've been deferring that we can catch up on.
Sorry, I wasn't implying that you wouldn't fill the position if you want to do it. I was curious if we want to fill the position and we want to continue.
I don't think we need 4 on Saturday. It's not that busy. If we, and we always have that option. I'm not planning on, we lowered his laborer position from 32 hours to 8 hours with the county, but I'm not planning on terminating him. He's just gonna not work. He's not gonna be scheduled. But if we ever get really busy and go, oh, we really need you back there, we have that option by keeping him in that position. At least unless the county finally comes back and says, hey, he's not working, you gotta remove him, which they sometimes do, but we can sort of keep it as a placeholder if we need it. So, so with that, then I'll make a motion, or actually, do you want to make a motion, Aaron?
Sure.
That we hire Troy Pagan, Pagan, to the position of laborer at the transfer station at a rate of $16 an hour, subject to approval by Ulster County personnel, with a start date of, and actually we'll start him as of Monday, even though he's not, well, no, we'll start him as of Tuesday. Well, he wouldn't get paid for Monday anyway. So as of September 6th, 2022, for the start date.
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Did you get all that?
Mm-hmm.
You're good. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Next, I handed out the seeker for local law 7, 2022. This is a short form. It's an unlisted action. I think we already designated it as unlisted action. But to be safe, in case we didn't, we should redesignate it as an unlisted action, just in case we didn't. I think we did it previously when we set a public hearing.
I think you would also.
Okay.
I can't remember.
There was something. and
Yes,
then
you know what?
looked it up
We did.
And then
We
it
did.
was.
We did designate. So I asked, so I've completed part 2, no or small impact. Part 3, I've clearly stated there are no impacts. This is a legislative decision. So I'd ask for a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board, based on the information and analysis above, it's on the language Christine is in the back. And any supporting documentation that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second. The roll call vote.
No, it's fine. Councilman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Allen.
Aye.
Councilman Paddock.
Aye.
Councilwoman Caesar. Aye. And Supervisor Layton.
Aye. Next, are you ready to vote on the local law as written, or do you want to take time to consider the public comment and we can always adopt it at the workshop meeting?
The only public comment we got was about the fines, but it's written right in there that the judge, the court can readjust higher, lower.
You addressed all that.
So I think it's ready to go.
And someone got the second parking ticket. You can come in, do both. I can say that our fines are very reasonable and that the time manner with the time schedule for them are very reasonable.
And the same with the surcharges, they can be removed by the judges as they wish. So it puts it in the hands of the justices.
I was wanting to take time, but I think if you guys want to vote,
I don't see what we're going to change except the fines. And I think the fines are reasonable.
I think you're completely fair when I've got the $15 parking ticket and you call me forgot about it for a week and it turned into a $75 ticket, so I think our surcharge is pretty fair, and that's very common practice.
So parking where you don't belong.
No, I don't think it's either. Like, what's the guy with the
And to
meter? Like, what's it
clarify,
from?
this is not just for default. There are a number of no parking areas that we have established.
Oh, should we add the fire, the draft?
The Dan part.
That's already, under vehicle and traffic law, I believe, but
We have fire hydrant, but maybe. we
That's
just
just in the
do-
fee schedule, that part comes
Yeah.
out in the fee.
yeah, it's a no parking zone. So,
So they might not, if the judge says, I'm not gonna interpret that as fire hydrant. Then,
Oh, okay.
then they'll give them the regular.
Yeah, and they can always set it higher if they realize that it was a fire, so it's fire. Okay,
Right.
fair enough, yeah.
So I think the thing that I wanted to think about, or maybe investigate, is does this fall in the same vein as the ticketing only happens in the same way that, if it's the constables doing it? It would only happen in the same way that they would be directed to do that, or they do it at any time?
no, they can do it at any time if they're called, if I've given them leeway, and contrary to what was stated, there is a phone number for them to call, and it is answered. If they get a call, sometimes it'll be checked with me, hey, should we go look into this? Other times they respond to a call from a resident. I think if they come across something, they should be able, no parking especially, and the reason we're making so many no parking zones is because of the parking is leading to other problems. So I don't see a problem with it. And the statements made tonight, I wasn't going to get in a back and forth, but we are not funding the town on constable tickets. They are not writing tickets.
At $100 a piece, it would take 14,000 tickets out of 240,000.
We are funding the constabulary currently on training classes that we're doing for other organizations and for things like the monster truck show. We charged a little bit of markup, we charged $20 an hour for the constables. They're paid $15 to $16.50 an hour. We're then paying the taxes on that. So it wasn't really marked up, but we're paying for their services. And we charged a $100 flat rate per day for the vehicles, which I thought was more than fair. So, and the monster truck people also thought it was more than fair. And they, so there's a mistake in that we're gathering all this money on the constabulary. I guess maybe in past, prior to my being supervisor, but since 2019, when we clarified their position, it has not been happening.
And we need this tool. We've had talks with Sheriff Figueroa too, about our joint task force with the sheriff's department, especially in Minnewaska Patrol. They recommended that we have this tool available to mitigate parking. Because really, we were just up there kind of messing.
We were moving vehicles.
Yeah.
That was what we were doing because that's all we could do.
Yeah.
And what we were doing that year during COVID is when somebody parked, we had both constables just moving constantly, and they would roll up behind the person, get on the speaker PA system and say, you parked illegally, move. But if you didn't catch them when they were parking, as soon as you got 3 or 4 cars,
Yeah,
you lost it.
6 hours.
You lost it. Because as soon as 3 or 4 cars parked, we'll then have more parking.
So I support, they're gentler also than having to issue a ticket to a person. But I have a question, Mary Lou. Is it, so when we add a no parking zone to our vehicle and traffic law, do we go through the same, can we remove, if we decided at some point that
We can remove.
and it's the same process?
It's a
Yeah,
local
it's an
law.
amendment to the local law.
we ever want to take something out.
So so if it ever were to be like, oh, well, maybe this area shouldn't be, people shouldn't be getting. so
We
many
can amend the
tickets
local
for
law,
parking on
and any
Sunday.
future town board can.
Yep.
When I started as supervisor,
And
there
always
were
change
two
the law.
places in the town, but over the last few years, it's become more of an issue as we become more populated and more, so. But a question for you, Mary Lou,
Yes.
though. On a state or county road that is not our jurisdiction, if it's posted by the state or the county as no parking, can we post
I don't know that we can do that.
I don't think we can.
That's
So I don't think these will work on 4455
Right.
or Sampson, well, not that there's any
I
no
think it's
parking
only on
signs.
town roads.
It's only on town roads because it's a town. park.
So we can't ticket people that are parking illegally for marijuana.
I don't believe so.
I don't think we can, because I think that's state.
We'll have to
We
confirm
can look, but I don't think that we.
because that's a state controlled road. I don't know that we have
There's only
jurisdiction.
anything in our business tax law.
Well, it doesn't necessarily say that. I don't think. Maybe it does.
Yeah, I mean. Regarding parking on certain roads.
Yeah.
Right, I know, that's, I was.
Not a town, town control road? Because no, I don't see why they wouldn't.
I will, it would
Yeah,
just be the
sure.
enforcement is the, what's that called? Fire.
No, I don't. I know what you meant, that was the kind of symbol for it.
You know, I gesticulate on things.
Well, we can look within the meaning of 1800 and vehicle and traffic law. Whether it is or isn't, I mean, it's just.
Yeah, I'll
a
look and
matter of-
let you know.
Yeah. But this does solve the problem, and then you discussed it yourself at one point that, we wanted to try to resolve this. The next thing we'll have to design a form and get that, all the information that has to be on that form, and get a printing company to make those, and then provide them to our constables.
Oh, is there envelope? That's how most towns do it, where you can just put your
Orange.
fine in it, and it's right on.
Yep.
You
Put
have
your fine in
such
the fine.
knowledge, Charlotte.
You know, I spent a lot of my time in New Paltz, and I worked in uptown Kingston for 3 years, and they didn't
Yeah.
have parking for us, so I forgot to pay my meter a lot, and I had tables to wait on.
Well, and relatively recently in New Paltz, they went away with the bonus Sunday. And there was no
Wow.
notice of it, so
Oh,
I-
that would have
I
gotten.
got- I got tickets then, but I didn't know.
I just didn't wake up
Surrounded
early
by
enough to
criminals.
go.
There may be a person that I married who wants to
I-
graduate from Falls with their unpaid parking tickets.
So before we wander too much down all these stories, what does the board think? You ready to vote on this? Or you want to?
I think I'm ready.
We can clarify the answers to these questions. It doesn't change the local law. Okay, so the recommended motion would be the town board adopts local law 7, 2022, and amending chapter 132 vehicles and traffic, code of the town of Rochester, and requests the town clerk
The file.
to
same with the
file
New York
same
State
with the
Lit-
New York State Department of State.
Yes.
Almost said circulate, because it was circulate.
I know, we've been doing a lot of that.
I'll make the motion. I'll
I'll
make it.
second.
Okay. I think we've already had discussion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'll get Kate everything tomorrow. To satisfy. That's it. Oh, we do have to have the executive session. So we will be adjourning in memoriam of Harry J. Crum, Warren Slutsky, Adele Henderson, Francis Garrity Smith, Elaine Ann Hayner, Vernon Jake Schwab, Frank Schneider, Nikos Linden Benjamin, Mary Odell, Richard Dick Henry, Frederick Wiedemann Jr., Michelle C. Dangia, and Ruben Matthews Jr. And we continue to have thoughts for the people of Ukraine and all suffering worldwide from the COVID-19 virus. And we continue to have thoughts for all the firefighters and people working on the Mackinac. So when we adjourn, we'll be adjourning in their thoughts. So then I'd ask for a motion to enter into executive session at 9:21 p.m. for the purposes of discussion of a particular matter involving a particular contract. I'm going to add a second, discussions of a particular matter involving a particular person.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.